Hi there, I'm Daniel Lafranchi. I'm here with Joe Sarmiento and this wonderful film crew here to talk to you a little bit about pollution sources. We all know those point pollution sources, of course, those sewer drains, all those outlets that we can see that are feeding into rivers and oceans from storm drains and manholes and so forth. But what about those non-point sources? What about those sources that aren't directly noticeable? I'm talking about runoff from agriculture. I'm talking about humans, their own emissions, all causing large amounts of pollution. And I'm going to take you around right now. This campus right here, as beautiful as it may seem, does have many pollution sources that we will discuss. Take it in right now. We're about to show you the ugly truth. Now, Joseph, can you please tell me why is it important to consider non-point as well as point sources in consideration of surface water?
Well, first of all, both of them can degrade water quality by putting them in pollution. But more so, there are we can control our output of pollution from both point sources and non-point sources. For example, point sources you can at least easily identify where a point source is, and you can take the appropriate action, like a drainage inlet or whatever, to help mitigate the effects. And also, as a non-point sources, they're harder to measure and harder to identify per se, but they still pollute the rivers and our surface water for a lot anyway. So it's important to keep track of them.
Thank you. When it comes to pollution, what pollutants are we talking about?
We're talking about a variety of things like pesticides, untreated water, more so, with chemicals and nitrogen, and even more so. One of the things that is important about pest management control is control of pesticides, weeds, or just pests in general. So, as you can see with the garden, a lot of times you're going to have a lot of weeds grow, and how to deal with that weeds is important when dealing with non-point sources, because pesticides can flow into the river, and that would be bad. So you see here at the Ford garden, where we can have weeds growing, and one of the things is to constantly change and constantly rotate those what kind of weed management you use. That will prevent herbicide-resistant weeds from growing, and in that case, you have a lot of. In that case, you can eliminate one potential problem of herbicides going into pollution.
Pollutants move through water. We all know that, right? So it's obvious that through precipitation and water entering our Earth could cause pollutants throughout. Cause pollutant movement. I'm sorry, Joe. And let's keep moving. So we need to have a way that we can disperse a lot of that water into the groundwater, so that we don't affect pollutants having a way to travel around. Not to have that water come in, get into the groundwater, and get dispersed.
I've heard about infiltration trenches as one way, as a best management practice to deal with this. Tell me more.
That is a good way. So what infiltration trenches do? They have, let's say, gravel or rock. Hopefully we'll see one around here somewhere. And what happens is the water goes into this trench and gets dispersed through the groundwater. Alright, instead of getting on the top and just being rushed off, so it's like, look at this concrete. If water were to fall here, it would just get land and get flushed off, carrying pollutants with it. But you have to be careful with infiltration trenches. You don't want to put them near different agriculture and other pollutant sources, because what's going to happen is those pollutants, like pesticides that the farmers might use, might get into that water and get dispersed into the groundwater. Bad idea. We don't want any pollutants through that groundwater affect our drinking water in any way.
So, what do we have here, and what does this have to do with non-point source solution?
Good question, Joseph. What do you think about this? This is the construction site right here that we have on Santa Clara University campus, right next to the engineering building and to the university parking structure. And construction sites are major components of non-point sources. If the construction site is not maintained well, if it's not fully taken care of during rainfalls or other types of things, rain can fall, and through runoff, how are you doing? And through runoff, causes a non-point pollution. As you know, during construction, a lot of pollutants are released, especially due to construction of concrete and so forth, that proper management needs to be taken place so that we don't run into any major problems. I mean, you can see right here, everything seems to be up to code. I don't know if you see anything. It's a major factor of non-point solutions. So come around here, we'll take a look around this construction site and see what we see. Do you have any other questions, Joe? You want to know about point and non-point sources?
Okay, so do you think that if we manage this well, that it will continue, that we'll be okay with the pollution?
Yes, I mean, there's always going to be some risk of pollution, but we want to mitigate those risks. Through best management practices, Joe, we can better mitigate those pollutants throughout our ecosystem. And it'll just be better for me, better for you, and better for future generations. So, Joe, I know we were talking about, point sources and non-point sources being just about anywhere. Something right now that's a solution, a pollution source. And
You mean like that piece of trash over there?
exactly. Yeah. See, let's pick that up. We don't want that to be right here. Good example of a non-point pollution. We can't track it. We don't know where it comes from. People
Our litter bugs.
Okay, so we have to really work hard to minimize those practices. Try to minimize pollution throughout our world. Wouldn't you say so, Joe?
Yeah, I would agree.
And
So you mean like this? Well,
even more, Joe.
ooh, somebody doesn't know how to dispose of their toothpaste.
All right, we'll pick that up, making the world a better place.
That'll sure help us with our creek cleanup tomorrow, right? Where we'll see point and non-point sources probably, or see where it leads.
They're everywhere. They are everywhere. As we speak right now, we are. More trash. More trash. Right now, we are on top of a storm drain. As you see, running across right here. See right here how this little trench is slanted inwards to let the flow of water flow down into that storm drain right here. Let's go take a look at that storm drain. Another form of a point solution. We can track exactly where it goes, exactly where it leads off to, and yeah, let's keep moving. So Joe, I've read tons about and heard countless times in Dr. Laura's class about pollution coming a lot from residential areas, especially non-point pollution. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, the thing with non-point pollution is like, you can see that a lot of it comes and it's unsuspected. Like there's pieces of trash that we pick up and see every day, or even from your car. So now it's not really leaking oil right now, but you can see that from the exhaust in general, just from the exhaust leads to pollution, oil leaking.
Actually, I see a little oil right there. I see it leaking a little bit right up there.
Oh. So with the rain, that can act as runoff, and that can lead to a non-point solution. So I mean, just like that, the exhaust, insufficient brake fluid, or leaking brake fluid more so, and it's just a lot of the little things. You wouldn't think of it, or wouldn't mind it, but in reality, that would lead to a lot of Oh, and I think it's affecting most dogs too. Yeah. These are everywhere.
Oh, Joe. So it does seem that we have point and non-point sources just about everywhere.
Oh, yeah. But there are best management practices that serve to help mitigate that. Or at least what the most we can do as humans and members of society to fix that.
So, if I wanted to know more about different ways that I, as just a student, can help mitigate those risks, where would I be able to find those?
Oh, you can go online to the EPA and to the EPA and find out about what you can do at a bigger scale. But just as a student, a lot of it is just basic. Pick up your trash. Don't be careless. Watch where you go. Watch what's going on. You just be aware. Use your mind. Use your brain. Use that 21-year-old college student's mental capabilities to help and watch the pollution.